Let me be brutally honest with you right now. Your bank account, your credit cards, those paper bills in your wallet, they could all become worthless overnight. Not in some distant future, not in a fantasy apocalypse movie, but in real collapse scenarios that have happened throughout history and could happen again. If you think I'm exaggerating, look at Venezuela, Zimbabwe, or Weimar Germany. Overnight, people who thought they were secure found themselves holding worthless paper, while their neighbors who understood real value survived and even thrived. So if you're serious about protecting yourself and your family when the economic system crumbles, subscribe right now, because what I'm about to share could be the difference between desperation and survival when money dies. The truth is, currency only has value because we collectively agree it does. It's a shared illusion backed by government promises and economic stability. But when that stability shatters, whether through hyperinflation, banking collapse, war, or systematic failure, that illusion evaporates instantly. History proves this over and over. During the Great Depression, people discovered that a dollar couldn't buy food if the stores were empty or farmers wouldn't accept it. In Argentina's economic collapse, people learned overnight that their life savings meant nothing. In Lebanon's recent crisis, citizens watched their bank accounts freeze while ATMs ran dry. These aren't ancient history lessons. These are modern warnings. When the financial system collapses, people panic. They rush to banks, only to find them closed. They try to withdraw cash, only to hit daily limits or discover their accounts have been frozen by emergency government orders. They attempt to buy supplies, but stores either refuse paper money or price goods so high that yesterday's weekly salary can't buy today's loaf of bread. This isn't speculation. This is documented reality from dozens of economic collapses across the world in just the last century. And every single time, the people who survived best weren't the ones with the most money in the bank. They were the ones who understood what truly holds value when society's financial agreements break down. So what actually matters when paper and digital money become meaningless? What can you trade? What can you use? What holds its worth when everything else collapses? There are 7 fundamental categories of value that emerge in every economic disaster, and understanding them now, while you still have time to prepare, is absolutely critical. These aren't theoretical concepts. These are the proven currencies of collapse, the real stores of wealth that people have relied on when their national currencies failed them. First and absolutely foremost is food. Not money to buy food later. Actual food, stored and ready. When hyperinflation hit Venezuela, people weren't trading bolivars. They were trading rice, flour, cooking oil, and canned goods. A can of tuna became more valuable than a month's wages. A bag of beans could be exchanged for essential medicine. Food is the most fundamental human need, and in crisis, it becomes the most reliable form of currency. But here's what most people get catastrophically wrong about food storage for barter and survival. They stockpile random items without strategic thinking. They buy what's on sale without considering nutritional density, shelf life, or trade value. They ignore the reality that certain foods become exponentially more valuable than others when supply chains collapse. Calorie-dense foods with long shelf lives become gold. Rice, beans, pasta, flour, sugar, salt, cooking oil. These aren't exciting, but they're survival fundamentals that everyone needs and will trade almost anything to obtain. Canned proteins like tuna, chicken, and salmon hold exceptional value because protein becomes scarce quickly in collapse scenarios. Canned vegetables and fruits provide essential vitamins and variety when fresh produce disappears. Comfort foods like coffee, tea, chocolate, and honey have disproportionate trade value because people crave normalcy and comfort during crisis, and they'll pay premium rates for psychological relief. Spices and seasonings might seem trivial, but when people are eating the same bland staples day after day, a bottle of hot sauce or packet of seasoning can command impressive trades. The critical mistake people make is storing food they won't eat or can't use. Exotic grains you've never cooked with, specialty health foods you don't normally consume, bulk purchases of items you can't properly prepare. These become liabilities, not assets. Store what you actually eat, in quantities you can realistically rotate and use. Learn to cook with your stored foods now, while grocery stores are still stocked, so you're not trying to figure out how to make wheat berries edible when you're already hungry. Master basic food preservation techniques. Learn canning, dehydrating, fermenting, and vacuum sealing. The ability to preserve fresh food when it's available extends your resources and creates valuable trade goods. A jar of home-canned vegetables or dehydrated meat can be worth more than commercial products because it demonstrates self-sufficiency and quality. Water is the second critical value category, and it's even more fundamental than food. You can survive weeks without food, but only days without water. In collapse scenarios, municipal water systems fail frequently. Pumps require electricity, treatment plants need chemicals and staff, distribution networks need maintenance. When any of these break down, taps run dry. Even if water flows, it might be contaminated, unsafe, potentially deadly. The ability to access, purify, and store clean water becomes invaluable. But water is heavy and takes enormous space to store in useful quantities. An adult needs roughly a gallon per day for drinking and basic hygiene. A family of 4 needs a minimum of 120 gallons for just 1 month. That's over 1,000 pounds of weight and significant storage space. This is why water storage alone isn't enough. You need water access and purification capabilities. If you have access to a natural water source, a stream, river, lake, or even a swimming pool, you have potential wealth, but only if you can make that water safe to drink. Water filters become extraordinarily valuable. A quality gravity-fed filter that can purify thousands of gallons is worth its weight in gold when everyone's water is contaminated. Portable filters like LifeStraw or Sawyer Mini become trade commodities because they're compact, effective, and can save lives. Chemical purification tablets, bleach, and iodine solutions provide backup purification methods. Boiling works but requires fuel, which becomes its own scarce resource. The knowledge of water purification through solar disinfection, sand filtration, or distillation can be traded as a service. People will pay you in food, goods, or labor if you can provide them with clean water. Wells, hand pumps, and rainwater collection systems transform from conveniences to critical infrastructure. If you have a well with a manual pump, you essentially have a functioning ATM that dispenses the most essential commodity for survival. The third category that holds value when money dies is medicine and medical supplies. In every economic collapse, healthcare systems strain or fail completely. Hospitals run out of supplies, pharmacies close or can't restock, doctors and nurses stop working because they aren't paid, or they demand payment in goods rather than worthless currency. People with chronic conditions face life-threatening supply shortages. Diabetics can't get insulin. Heart patients can't access blood pressure medication. People with infections die from lack of antibiotics. Pain relief becomes a desperate need. This creates a dark but undeniable reality. Medical supplies become extremely valuable, and certain items become black market currencies. Basic first aid supplies are essential starting points. Bandages, gauze, medical tape, antiseptics, splints, tourniquets. These treat common injuries that become more frequent when society destabilizes. Pain relievers like ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and aspirin are worth stockpiling in quantity because pain management matters tremendously to quality of life, and people will trade valuable resources for relief. Antibiotic ointments prevent infections that could become fatal without modern medical care. Antidiarrheal medications like Imodium can be life-saving in situations with poor sanitation or contaminated food and water. Antihistamines treat allergic reactions and help with sleep. Electrolyte replacement supplies combat dehydration. Prescription medications create complex ethical and legal situations. But the reality is that people with chronic conditions need to work with their doctors now to build appropriate reserves while they still can. Some physicians will prescribe extended supplies if you explain your concerns about supply chain disruptions or natural disasters. Medical knowledge becomes as valuable as medical supplies. Basic first aid training, CPR certification, wilderness medicine skills, herbal medicine knowledge. These are capabilities you can trade for food, shelter, or protection. A person who can set a broken bone, treat an infected wound, or help deliver a baby becomes invaluable to their community. Books and printed medical references gain substantial worth because internet access and digital information might be unavailable. Dental supplies are often overlooked but critical. Toothaches and dental infections are excruciating and potentially fatal. Temporary filling materials, dental pain relievers, and basic dental tools can provide enormous relief and trade value. The fourth category is energy and fuel. When the power grid fails, when gas stations close, when natural gas lines stop flowing, your ability to generate heat, light, and power separates survival from suffering. People died during Hurricane Katrina, not just from the storm, but from heat exhaustion in the days after when there was no air conditioning and no way to escape the brutal temperatures. People froze to death during the Texas winter storm of 2021 when the power grid collapsed and homes went dark and cold. Energy isn't optional, it's survival. And in collapse scenarios, fuel and energy sources become premium barter goods. Gasoline and diesel fuel are obvious candidates, but they're challenging to store safely and degrade over time even with stabilizers. Propane is more stable, safer to store in appropriate containers, and versatile. A propane tank can run a heater, a stove, a water heater, even a generator. Kerosene works for heating and lighting. Wood becomes valuable for anyone with a fireplace or wood stove, and it's renewable if you have access to trees and the tools to process them. Coal serves similar purposes where available, but fuel alone isn't enough. You need tools to use it efficiently. A wood stove or rocket stove concentrates heat and reduces fuel consumption. A propane heater designed for indoor use provides safe warmth. Oil lamps or propane lanterns give light without electricity. Solar panels represent a longer-term investment that pays enormous dividends in extended collapse scenarios. Even small portable solar chargers can recharge batteries, phones, and small devices, maintaining some connection to technology and communication. Larger home solar installations can power essential appliances and preserve food in refrigerators and freezers, which becomes incredibly valuable. Generators provide backup power, but require ongoing fuel supplies, creating dependence on gasoline or diesel availability. Batteries in various sizes store power and run countless devices. Rechargeable batteries paired with solar chargers create sustainable power. Candles, while simple, provide light and small amounts of heat, and they're easily stored and traded. The fifth category that maintains value is tools and equipment. When services disappear, when repair shops close, when you can't call a plumber or electrician or mechanic, the ability to fix, build, and maintain things yourself becomes essential. Tools are force multipliers. A person with the right tools can solve problems, create value, and trade their skills. But tools are only valuable if you know how to use them, so knowledge and practice matter as much as the tools themselves. Hand tools become especially critical because they don't require electricity or fuel. A quality hammer, saw, screwdriver set, wrench set, pliers, and axe can handle most basic repairs and construction needs. Specialized tools for specific skills gain value. Sewing supplies for clothing repair, sharpening stones for maintaining blades, fishing equipment for food procurement, trapping supplies for pest control and hunting, gardening tools for growing food, medical instruments for healthcare, mechanical tools for vehicle and equipment repair. The list extends based on your skills and your community's needs. Multi-tools and Swiss Army knives pack numerous functions into portable forms, making them valuable for barter and everyday use. Knives of all types, kitchen knives, hunting knives, utility knives, are fundamental tools that everyone needs and wears out over time. Quality blades hold their edge and last for years, making them excellent trade items. Axes and hatchets for splitting wood, clearing land, and processing lumber become essential when heating and cooking require wood fuel. Shovels, rakes, hoes, and other agricultural hand tools enable food production, which is the foundation of survival. Repair supplies complement tools. Duct tape, zip ties, rope, wire, glue, nails, screws, nuts, bolts. These basic materials fix countless problems. Tarps create shelter, protect supplies, collect rainwater. Plastic sheeting seals windows, creates barriers, preserves materials. Having stockpiles of these practical supplies means you can repair and maintain equipment when new products become unavailable, and you can trade surplus supplies for other needs. The sixth category is security and protection. This is uncomfortable for many people to think about, but collapse scenarios create desperation. and desperate people do desperate things. Crime rates spike during economic crises. Home invasions increase. Looting becomes common. Violent confrontations over resources happen regularly. Police forces become overwhelmed, understaffed, or simply stop functioning because officers aren't being paid or are dealing with their own family crises. You become responsible for your own security, and the tools and knowledge to protect yourself, your family, and your resources become critically important. Firearms are the obvious category here, and their value in collapse scenarios is well documented. But firearms alone aren't enough. You need ammunition, which becomes extremely valuable and scarce quickly. You need training to use them safely and effectively. You need maintenance supplies to keep them functional. You need secure storage to prevent theft, and you need to understand the enormous legal and ethical responsibilities that come with owning and potentially using defensive weapons. Not everyone is comfortable with firearms, and that's a personal choice that must be respected. But for those who do choose to own them for protection, quality firearms with adequate ammunition stores become both personal security tools and valuable barter items, though trading weapons requires extreme caution about who receives them. Non-lethal defensive options matter too. Pepper spray, tasers, batons, and personal alarms can deter threats without lethal force. Strong locks, reinforced doors, and window bars create physical barriers. Motion sensor lights deter nighttime intruders. Dogs provide early warning and deterrent effects. Security cameras and alarm systems work when power is available. Fencing and gates establish clear property boundaries. The goal isn't to create a fortress that attracts attention, but to make your property enough of a challenge that criminals move on to easier targets. Community security becomes more effective than individual security. Neighborhoods that organize watches, share information, and establish mutual protection agreements survive better than isolated individuals. Radio communication equipment enables coordination without phone systems. Walkie-talkies, ham radios, and CB radios maintain contact when cell towers fail. The ability to communicate with your neighbors, family members, and mutual aid groups is invaluable for coordinating security and sharing threat information. The seventh and perhaps most overlooked category is skills and knowledge. Everything I've discussed so far involves physical goods: food, water, medicine, fuel, tools, security equipment. But the most valuable asset you can possess doesn't take any storage space at all. It's what you know and what you can do. Skills can't be stolen, they don't expire, they can't be destroyed in a fire or flood, and they can be traded without depleting your resources. A skilled person becomes valuable to any community or group, which provides both economic opportunity and security through social connections. Medical skills top the list because healthcare needs never stop, and trained medical professionals become community treasures. But even basic first aid knowledge has trade value. Agricultural and gardening skills enable food production, which is fundamental to survival. Knowing how to plant, grow, harvest, and preserve food creates self-sufficiency and tradable surplus. Hunting, fishing, and trapping skills procure protein when meat becomes scarce. Butchering and meat preservation techniques process that protein into storable food. Mechanical repair skills fix vehicles, generators, equipment, and tools that others need. Electrical knowledge repairs wiring, installs solar systems, troubleshoots power issues. Plumbing skills fix water systems and install wells and pumps. Construction and carpentry skills build and repair shelters, which everyone needs. Sewing and textile skills make and repair clothing, which wears out and needs replacement. Blacksmithing and metalworking create and repair metal tools and implements. Gunsmithing maintains and repairs firearms. Leatherworking produces useful items from available materials. Soap making provides essential hygiene products. Candle making creates light sources. Brewing and fermenting make alcohol, which has both recreational and medicinal value. Water purification knowledge ensures safe drinking water. Fire starting skills without modern conveniences become essential. Navigation without GPS keeps people oriented. Communication skills like ham radio operation maintain contact. Teaching skills share knowledge with others. Every skill you develop now increases your value in a post-collapse environment. Every course you take, every book you read, every hands-on practice session builds capabilities that might save your life or enable you to trade your expertise for food, shelter, or security. The time to learn is now, while YouTube videos exist, while classes are available, while you can practice with safety nets in place. Waiting until crisis hits to start learning is too late. Skills take time to develop, and they require practice to maintain. Make learning practical skills a regular part of your life. Dedicate time each week to developing new capabilities or improving existing ones. Physical books and printed information gain value when internet access disappears. How-to manuals, repair guides, medical references, agricultural handbooks, survival guides, these become treasured resources. Build a library of practical knowledge in physical form. Digital information is convenient now, but worthless when the power grid fails and your devices die. Paper lasts decades if stored properly and can be shared with others. Understanding all 7 of these value categories, food, water, medicine, energy, tools, security, and skills, creates a comprehensive preparation strategy that addresses real collapse scenarios based on historical examples. These aren't fantasy doomsday prepping ideas. These are proven survival strategies from people who lived through currency collapses, economic depressions, wars, and disasters. The people who thrived during these crises weren't the wealthiest before the collapse. They were the ones who understood what truly held value and prepared accordingly. But here's the critical point that most people miss. Stockpiling supplies isn't enough by itself. You need to know how to use what you have. You need to maintain your supplies properly. You need to rotate perishables and replace expired items. You need to practice your skills regularly. You need to build relationships with like-minded people who share your preparedness mindset, because community support matters enormously in crisis situations. Lone survivors are a myth. People survive in groups through cooperation, shared resources, and mutual protection. Start where you are with what you have. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars immediately or transform your home into a bunker. Begin with the basics. Build a week of food and water storage, then expand to 2 weeks, then a month, then 3 months. Learn one new practical skill this month. Take a first aid class. Plant a garden. Practice starting a fire without matches. Every small step increases your resilience and reduces your vulnerability to economic shocks and supply chain disruptions. Think strategically about what you're storing. Consider trade value alongside personal use. Items that are cheap now but will become expensive or unavailable during crisis make smart investments. Ammunition, medical supplies, quality tools, seeds, water filters. These are examples of items that cost relatively little today but could be worth their weight in gold tomorrow. Buy quality over quantity when it matters. Cheap tools break when you need them most. Poor quality seeds don't germinate. Expired medications lose effectiveness. Invest wisely in items that will actually function when you need them. Consider your specific situation and location. Urban preparedness differs from rural preparedness. Apartment dwellers face different challenges than homeowners with land. Cold climates require different preparations than hot climates. Coastal areas face hurricane risks. Interior regions face tornado threats. Earthquake zones need specific preparations. Tailor your preparations to your actual risks and circumstances rather than copying someone else's plan that might not fit your situation. And if you want to go deeper, you'll find in the pinned comments some guides and documents that can take your preparedness to the next level. Check them out when you're ready. The bottom line is this: money is fragile. Currency is an agreement, and agreements break. The value we place on paper bills and digital numbers exists only as long as society functions normally, and people have faith in the system. That faith can shatter overnight. We've seen it happen repeatedly throughout history, and there's absolutely no guarantee it won't happen again, potentially soon. The warning signs are present: massive government debts, inflation concerns, banking instability, supply chain fragility, political instability, international tensions. The foundations of our economic system face pressures from multiple directions simultaneously. When the collapse comes, and it's when, not if, because all economic systems eventually face crisis, the people who survive and maintain quality of life will be those who understood what truly holds value and prepared accordingly. They'll have food when stores are empty. They'll have clean water when taps run dry. They'll have medicine when pharmacies close. They'll have energy when the grid fails. They'll have tools when services disappear. They'll have security when law enforcement can't respond. They'll have skills when specialists become unavailable. These are the 7 pillars of real wealth in collapse scenarios, and they're more valuable than any amount of money in your bank account. So, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to hope everything works out fine and take no action? Are you going to trust that the government will save you, that stores will stay stocked, that your job will continue paying you, that your savings will retain value? Or are you going to take responsibility for your own survival and start building real wealth that can't be inflated away, stolen by banks, or made worthless by government decree? The choice is yours, but the time to decide is now, while you still can. Don't let fear paralyze you, but don't let normalcy bias blind you to real risks either. Look at the evidence, study the history, learn from others who survived economic collapse, then act on that knowledge. If you found this information valuable, if you understand now what truly matters when money dies, then like this video, drop a comment sharing what you're doing to prepare, and share this with someone who needs to hear it before it's too late. And subscribe now, because I'm going to keep bringing you the real, unfiltered truth about survival and preparedness that most channels won't dare to discuss. This isn't entertainment. This is life and death information. Treat it accordingly.